guys, me your host Superstar, thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're going to be talking about my top 10 favourite Marvel Legend Bat figures that I have in my collection. Now these are figures that, when I made this list, I basically wanted to make sure that it were figures that I reviewed and that I own. So if I haven't reviewed them, they can't be on this list. So this is based on my top 10 of all the Bat figures that I have reviewed over the years. This video, by the way, was actually voted for by you, the community. Every so often on the community tab, if you check on my channel, and also on Instagram, I will put up little polls every now and again of what videos I should do next. And sometimes on Instagram, I ask for ideas on what videos you guys want to see. So if you want to be in on the creative process and seeing some videos that you guys want to vote and see, it might be worth following us over on Instagram so you can put your suggestions forward. Also, let us know in the comments down below what kind of videos you want to see in the future, because you can comment here as well, and let me know if enough people comment that same thing or like it, then I will choose that as one of the videos to produce. Likewise, if you go to the community tab, you'll see that polls pop up every now and again, and this was voted quite heavily by you guys as the video that you want to see next. So guys, without further ado, it's time for the top 10 Marvel Legend Bat figures I own in my collection. Let's do this. So, coming in first at number 10, it is the Gladiator Hulk bath. This was probably one of my first baths that I did on the channel, and I really did like this figure. It was very, very good, very detailed, and of course it obviously came with the set with the Thor as well. And as you guys know, I was a big fan of Thor Ragnarok, especially the scene of, he's my friend from work. It was the running joke on the channel for a long time. I love Thor, and obviously that film was absolutely outstanding, so this Hulk bath was definitely one that I keep close in my collection. I did get this Select Savage Hulk as well from Diamond Select, but I ended up keeping the Marvel Legends one as my permanent sort of Hulk, Gladiator Hulk in my collection, or Savage Hulk if you will, from Planet Hulk. So this is the one that I keep in my collection. But what do you think, guys? Is this one that you've got in your collection? Do you still have this one? Let me know in the comments. Coming in at number 9 is Titus. Now, Titus was one of those figures that I didn't know much about at the time of purchasing the wave, but obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, I did have to pick up the Volume 2 wave, and this was the bath that came with it. Sorry about the dodgy camera work back then. This is a very old video from the channel, though. That's really, really awful. That lens needs a good wipe, doesn't it? It's funny looking back at old videos now and seeing how well we've come along on the channel since then. But that Titus figure is definitely worth grabbing. It was a great bath figure, and obviously it goes with Nova and the Nova core, and it's such just a cool figure that I don't think they'll ever create again, so I really like it. And as well, everyone were changing the arms around back then to get 2 of the Gatling gun hands rather than just the 1, and I remember a lot of people modifying to do that, but it was just such an awesome figure and definitely worthy of a place on this list. Coming in at number 8, this is Sauron? I could never pronounce the name of this thing. I think it's Sauron. He's the pterodactyl Psy vampire from the Savage Lands in the X-Men collection. I actually let this one go quite a long time ago on the channel, so I no longer actually own this figure. But I believe it is coming back as a deluxe figure somewhere down the line, as it was leaked a long time ago as being a part of the deluxe line, which I do hope, because I would like to get my hands on this one again. It's such a great figure, but at the time I just couldn't afford to keep it in my collection. Back then, yeah, it was a long time ago now, back then the channel wasn't doing as well as it is now, so I couldn't afford that wave. But this figure is still definitely worthy of a spot on this list. It was an immaculate figure, very well painted, very well crafted, and I think it was one that everyone kind of wanted at the time with the Savage Lands with X-Men. And I think they should still make a bunch of other Savage Land X-Men figures, because that would be very cool to see. I know everyone loves that, the idea of Rogue in the Savage Land outfit as well from the cartoon, so that could be very cool, and from the comics as well. But guys, what are your thoughts? Would you like to see a Savage Land X-Men wave? Let us know down below. Number 7, it's Wendigo. This savage monster from the comics was what Hulk and Wolverine faced. After Hulk and Wolverine sort of fought each other back in the day in the comics, they then went after the Legend of the Wendigo. And I believe, I can't remember, was it Wolverine and Hulk? number, I want to say 5 or something daft like that. I may have got that completely wrong, but I remember there were definitely a comic where Wolverine in his first appearance costume teamed up with the Hulk to take out the Wendigo, and that's what I tried to recreate in my review. In a moment you might see that clip. But it was definitely a Bath figure at the time that I was very much into. It came out around the time of all the 80th anniversary stuff, so obviously we had the Juggernaut recreation and stuff like that, and we had all the 80th stuff, and this was definitely a figure that I wanted in my collection. And just for you guys, here's that scene with Wolverine and Hulk teaming up to take out the Wendigo, but I believe they ended up all fighting one another anyway. I think they did actually touch on this in one of the Wolverine Hulk cartoons, if I remember rightly. Again, the Wendigo is a really cool character, and I'm definitely happy to have this in my collection. Have you still got this in your collection, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Next on my list is the Goblin. It was definitely a figure that was needed, as it proved that we didn't need a Bath figure to be an oversized monster to be interesting. This Goblin figure was definitely a figure that I wanted, and I actually bought the whole wave based up on this Bath figure alone. The rest of the wave was okay. I mean, we got Shang-Chi, and we got the White Rabbit and other characters, the Spider-Man Octavius one and stuff like that. But for me, the main figure for me in that wave was the Goblin, and it was definitely something that I wanted to pick up, so I had to get the whole wave. And the figure was very well done for a Bath figure as well. It's very well put together. It doesn't feel like a Bath figure, it feels like a regular Marvel Legend. And I wish they would make more of this style. They don't always have to make oversized Baths, in my opinion. They can make smaller Baths. I think it is definitely something they should look into and give us more of it in the future, as sometimes it is nice to get just a regular sized figure, but build it up over time, sort of thing. I think the DC company clicked onto that when they made the Killer Croc wave for the Suicide Squad wave. I think they definitely hit the nail on the head with that one, because that is still my favourite DC builder figure to this day, or click and collect, or whatever it's called. But yes, this one's definitely worthy of a spot on my list, and the Goblin is still in my collection to this day. I love that figure in my Spider-Man line. A figure that I'm definitely glad they made as a Bath figure, because it needed to be quite chunky and large, it's ManThing. And you know what? I love this figure. It is still in my collection. He's actually a part of my Midnight Suns and sort of monsters line with Dracula, werewolf and zombie and stuff like that. He's sort of over with them, and now I've put Shickler with them and things like that. So they are really fleshing out the monster line for us bit by bit as time goes on. This is a bit of an older video, again, you can tell by the quality of that video. But ManThing was definitely a Bath at the time that everybody loved. And as well, because it was a character that wasn't overly used back then. They've slightly used him a little bit more now, especially with the War of the Realms and stuff. I know he appeared in there. And isn't there like a baby ManThing kicking about now as well, like a little sprig of ManThing or something, if I remember rightly from some recent comics. But yeah, definitely a Bath figure that is stood the test of time, really. I think it is slightly based on the Wendigo wave, the Wendigo Bath, or vice versa. Wendigo is based on this one, and also Venom, I think, is based on that. You can tell by that big chest piece. But yeah, the figure is still worthy of picking up, and I think it's one of the best Bath figures they've made in a long time. After ManThing, I think it's only right that we do talk about Monster Venom. Now, at the time, again, this was a great figure that came out. It is based upon that same sort of Bath book as the ManThing figure, I believe, and it just took everything that ManThing did wrong and made it right, and they created an awesome figure. So good that they had to recreate it again with a different art deco for Eddie Brock and give us the proper Monster Venom. But this one at the time was definitely one that every collector wanted. I think most people, again, bought that entire wave based upon that Bath figure. Everybody wanted it, and I still think a lot of people do. Bath figures, for me, they've lost their appeal a little bit now since they've started doing the deluxe figures. Sometimes you do wonder, should I buy the wave or should I wait for a deluxe to come out? I think Marvel have shot themselves, well, Hasbro have shot themselves in the foot doing that now, because I think more and more people might hang fire about pre-ordering, because they know they might get the deluxe figure later down the line, which is what happened here with Monster Venom. Not long after the Monster Venom figure came out, it was only about, what, was it a year, 2 years later, we already have the deluxe one. I don't think it was even a year. It wasn't long until we got the actual redecoed version. So I don't know, what do you guys think about all these deluxe figures recreating some of the Bath figures? I could make a whole other video talking about that. But for now, Monster Venom is definitely worthy of a spot in this list. Before we round up with the top 2 figures, I did want to give an honourable mention to this figure because obviously it's Monster Pool and it was very much based upon the Monster Venom fig with a few differences. It is a very good figure. I like it. I think it's brilliant. And it was definitely one of people's top favourite figures of this past of this past year, and it definitely made a top 10 list for me. And I think Nerdzoic chose this, if I remember rightly, as the winner of his Bath figure of the year. And yeah, it definitely was in my top 10 as well, and one of my favourite figures. But I don't think it was worthy of the number 1 spot on this list, but it did deserve to be quite high up. So I didn't give it a number, but it is the honourable mention of the video. And definitely a figure that I think a lot of people have picked up and will continue to pick up. And yeah, I bet you any money they do this as a deluxe figure down the line with more accessories and an alternate head. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Now I know this is in the number 1 spot for a lot of people, but for me it just didn't make it to number 1. As much as I love the X-Men, I think Apocalypse was a great figure at the time when this Bath was announced. A lot of people were still scrambling to try and get the original version in the Bath form, but it was great when they recreated this figure and brought him out better than the original with new art deco and stuff like that. It's just such a great figure in my honest opinion, and it was definitely worthy of being on this list and quite high up because I do love my X-Men, but it didn't quite scrape to number 1 for me. I did actually sell this figure on. I don't actually own this figure anymore, which I highly regret, by the way. I had seller's remorse the moment I sold him, but I just couldn't afford when people were paying the money they were paying for this thing. I just couldn't afford to keep it in my collection. I had to let it go so I could afford more figures for the channel. I remember back then it was a hard decision to make, and it's one I regret making to this day. But still, this figure is absolutely immaculate. The deluxe figure they made afterwards wasn't like this one. They actually made it very different and based upon the Age of Apocalypse figure. So this one is still pretty unique in the collection, guys. Have you still got this one? Let us know in the comments below. Another honourable mention for the list before we go any further. This is a figure that I could never get my hands on. It's Blob. And I definitely still need Blob for my collection because I've got a large X-Men collection including the Brotherhood of Mutants, and it's missing a Blob. I've never been able to get my hands on one, and I still am hunting this thing to this day. I'm not sure if they're ever going to recreate it. I really do hope so because the second-hand market prices for this thing is nuts. But I would love for them to recreate it. Like I said, don't think they will. I'm not sure, but I'd love them to. But if anyone can get me onto a decent Blob price, I would love to have this in my collection, and I would never let that thing go. It would permanently be stuck in my collection, on my shelf with all my X-Men goodies. He's the one X-Men figure that I regretted never picking up when it was cheaper. Because I mean, when I say cheaper, I mean about 80 quid. I think it goes for well over 100 now. Yeah, it's definitely one of those figures that eluded me over the years. But guys, it's time to unveil our number 1 spot on this list. Now my number 1 choice it may surprise a lot of people. It doesn't surprise me though. It's the Kingpin Bath. I know a lot of people say this was an overhyped Bath, but for me it was one that I wanted for so long. I was almost on the verge of buying the Toy Biz Kingpin when this thing was announced, and I'm glad I held off and got the Marvel Legends one because it is awesome. They did give us a better version later on down the line as a part of the Spider-Man lineup, which has got the more cartoon look to it. But this was the modern version of Kingpin, and it came out at a time where the Daredevil TV series were at its highest, and Vincent D'Onofrio was absolutely killing it as Kingpin. So I think this figure holds a lot of sentimental value to me as well. Kingpin has always been one of my favourite villains because I love Spider-Man, I love Daredevil, and both of them fight the Kingpin on a regular basis, especially Daredevil, my number 1 hero. Not a lot of people know that about me, but Daredevil is my favourite comic of all time that Marvel ever produced. And Kingpin is his number 1 enemy, really, so he had to be on my list, and he had to be at number 1 because I love him. And if you guys saw my room tour, then you know where this guy is. He's got pride and place in that corner spot, right next to all the Spider-Man and Daredevil figures. But who would be number 1 on your spot, on your list, guys? Let us know down below your choices for your top 10 Baths, guys.
So guys, what did you think of my top 10? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video today and the way it was produced, let me know in the comments and hit that like button. And if you're new around here, please make sure you smash that subscribe button. Subscribing really supports us, it really helps us out and helps us to keep making awesome videos like this. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you. Bye!